The massive ship dropped out of hyperspace with a flash of blue light that lit up the darkness between stars. Commander Vexhai stood on the bridge of the Eternal Dominion, his 4 crystalline arms folded behind his back as he stared at the view screen. The star system ahead looked familiar yet somehow wrong. His navigator, a young Zephyrian named Yelthara, checked her instruments twice before speaking. "Commander, we have arrived at the Sol system as ordered. Third planet should be directly ahead." Vexhai nodded slowly. 500,000 years ago, his people had visited this unremarkable yellow star during their great expansion across the galaxy. They had found 9 planets with only the third showing signs of primitive life. The survey team had cataloged various species, including a group of barely intelligent apes that used simple stone tools. The report had been filed and forgotten, marking the system as having no strategic value. "Run a full sensor sweep of the inner planets," Vexhai commanded. The bridge crew moved efficiently at their stations, their crystalline skin glowing softly in the dim light. The Zephyrian Empire had perfected space travel millions of years ago, and routine surveys were second nature to them. But the readings that appeared on their screens made everyone pause. "Commander," Yelthara said, her voice uncertain. "I'm detecting artificial structures on the third planet. Lots of them." Vexhai moved closer to examine the data. Geometric patterns covered large portions of the planet's surface. Metal and glass constructions rose high into the atmosphere. Most puzzling of all, dozens of artificial objects orbited the planet, clearly manufactured rather than natural. "Check your instruments," Vexhai ordered. "The primitive species we cataloged here couldn't have built any of this." The sensor operator, a veteran named Koldash, ran the scans again. "Sir, the readings are consistent. Not only are there massive cities covering the surface, but I'm detecting electromagnetic signatures that indicate advanced technology. In the depths of space, orbiting high above Earth's blue marble, Captain Lisa Rodriguez received the alert on her personal communicator. She was reviewing duty rosters in her quarters aboard the orbital station, New Geneva, when the proximity alarms began sounding throughout the facility. Lisa grabbed her uniform jacket and rushed to the command center. The massive room buzzed with activity as dozens of technicians worked at holographic displays that floated in the air around them. Lieutenant Jake Morrison, her tactical officer, met her at the central console. "Captain, we have a problem," Jake said, pulling up a 3-dimensional map of the solar system. A red dot blinked near the outer edge. Something big just appeared at the system's edge. Really big, Lisa studied the readings. The object was larger than anything humanity had ever built, easily 10 times the size of their largest space stations. "Natural phenomenon?" "Negative, ma'am. It's clearly artificial, and it's heading our way." Dr. Nina Clark, the station's chief science officer, joined them at the console. Her face was pale as she reviewed the incoming data. "Lisa, you need to see this. The energy signatures coming from that ship are unlike anything in our databases. The materials it's made from don't match anything we know about." Lisa felt her heart rate increase. Humanity had been exploring space for over 2 centuries, had colonies on Mars and the outer moons, but they had never encountered signs of intelligent alien life. "How long until it reaches Earth?" "At its current speed, maybe 6 hours, Jake replied. "But Captain, there's something else. We're receiving a transmission." The main screen flickered to life, showing static and interference before clearing to reveal a face that was almost human but not quite. The being had 4 arms and skin that looked like living crystal. When it spoke, the words were translated by their computer systems. "Greetings, inhabitants of the third planet. I am Commander Vexhai of the Zephyrian Empire. We have returned to complete our survey of your world after an extended absence. We seek peaceful contact and wish to establish diplomatic relations." Lisa exchanged glances with her officers. Extended absence. That suggested these aliens had been here before, though there was no record of any previous contact in human history. "Prepare a response," Lisa ordered, "and get me a direct line to Earth Command immediately." Back aboard the Eternal Dominion, Vexhai watched as his science team analyzed the structures below. What they found made no sense according to their understanding of planetary development. "Commander, the electromagnetic patterns indicate a global communication network," reported his science officer. "The cities are connected by transportation systems that appear to move faster than our atmospheric vehicles." Vexhai frowned. The stone tool-using apes they had cataloged should have taken millions of years to develop even basic agriculture, if they survived at all. Yet the planet below showed signs of a technological civilization that rivaled some of the younger species in the Zephyrian Empire. "Sir, we're receiving a response to our transmission," the communications officer announced. The main screen showed a human female in a military uniform. She appeared calm and professional, though Vexahai could detect the tension in her posture. "Commander Vexahai, this is Captain Lisa Rodriguez of the Earth Defense Command. Welcome to our solar system. We appreciate your peaceful intentions and would be honored to establish diplomatic contact. However, I must ask about your previous survey. Our historical records contain no mention of alien contact." Vexahai considered his response carefully. How could he explain that their last visit had been 500,000 years ago, when these humans were barely more than animals? "Captain Rodriguez, our previous survey was conducted long before your civilization developed written records. We are pleased to see that your species has advanced significantly since our last visit." The lie came easily. It was standard procedure to avoid shocking primitive species with the true timeline of their development. But as Vexahai studied the human's image, he realized she might not be as primitive as he assumed. The orbital station visible behind Captain Rodriguez was clearly advanced technology. The materials glowed with internal light sources he didn't recognize. The holographic displays floating around the command center operated on principles his science teams would need to study carefully. "We would welcome a diplomatic meeting," Captain Rodriguez continued. "Our scientists are eager to learn about your civilization and share knowledge of our own developments." Vexahai agreed to send a diplomatic shuttle to Earth's surface within 12 hours. As the transmission ended, he found himself staring at the planet below with growing unease. His tactical officer approached with a datapad. "Sir, we've completed our analysis of the planet's defenses. There are multiple orbital installations with weapon systems we don't recognize. The energy readings are inconsistent with our understanding of human technological development." "What do you mean?" Vexahai asked. "Sir, some of these energy signatures suggest they're manipulating matter at the quantum level. That should be impossible for any species this young." Vexahai looked out at the blue planet hanging in space before them. When they had left 500,000 years ago, it had been a world of primitive creatures struggling to survive. Now they faced a civilization that might actually pose questions about their own technological superiority. For the first time in his long military career, Commander Vexahai felt a chill of uncertainty about what they might have awakened by returning to Earth. The first contact facility in Nevada had been built in record time. Dr. Elena Vasquez walked through the gleaming halls, checking every detail one final time before the alien delegation arrived. The building itself was a marvel of human engineering, constructed using quantum-stable materials that could withstand almost any form of attack while remaining completely transparent to most forms of scanning. Elena paused at the main conference room and watched through the reinforced windows as the final preparations were made. Holographic displays showed real-time translations in over 300 languages, including the preliminary Zephyrian language matrix their computers had developed from the initial transmissions. Her assistant, Dr. Marcus Webb, approached with a tablet showing the latest intelligence reports. "The alien shuttle landed 20 minutes ago. Our sensors indicate 3 beings aboard, all matching the physiological profile of Commander Vexahai from the transmission." Elena nodded and adjusted her white lab coat. As Earth's leading xenobiology expert, she had spent years theorizing about this moment. The reality felt both thrilling and terrifying. "Any unusual readings from their technology?" "That's the interesting part," Marcus replied. "Their shuttle uses propulsion systems we recognize, but the energy efficiency is about 30% lower than our equivalent technology. It's almost like they're using an older version of anti-grav systems." Before Elena could respond, Captain Sam Hunter arrived with his security team. The tall military officer had been chosen to lead the negotiations because of his calm demeanor and extensive experience in diplomatic situations. His dark eyes scanned the room professionally as he checked the security arrangements. "Dr. Vasquez, are we ready to receive our guests?" Sam asked. "As ready as we can be for humanity's first alien contact," Elena replied with a nervous smile. The main doors opened and the Zephyrian delegation entered. Ambassador Kethlar led the group, his crystalline skin catching the light as he moved. Behind him came 2 other beings, their forearms moving gracefully as they observed everything around them with obvious interest. Elena studied the aliens carefully as they approached. Their technology appeared sophisticated but somehow familiar. The translation devices they wore resembled early versions of human neural interfaces. Their clothing, while clearly advanced, looked like it had been designed using principles human fashion designers had abandoned decades ago. Ambassador Kethalar. Sam stepped forward with his hand extended. Welcome to Earth. I am Captain Sam Hunter, and this is Dr. Elena Vasquez, our chief xenobiology specialist. The ambassador looked at Sam's outstretched hand for a moment before extending one of his own forearms. The handshake was brief, but Elena noticed how carefully the alien studied the simple human gesture. Captain Hunter. Dr. Vasquez, it is an honor to meet representatives of your species, Kethler said through his translation device. I must admit, we are impressed by the development your people have achieved. As they moved to the conference room, Dr. Maya Patel monitored the proceedings from the observation deck above. Her job was to track the aliens' biological responses during the meeting, watching for signs of deception or hostile intent. What she saw on her screens made her frown with confusion. The Zephyrians' vital signs were elevated, but not in ways that suggested aggression. Their heart rates and internal temperatures indicated extreme stress, the kind of response humans might have when facing something completely unexpected. In the conference room, the formal introductions continued. Ambassador Kethlar spoke proudly of the Zephyrian Empire, describing their control of thousands of worlds across the galaxy and their role as guides for younger civilizations. Our empire has maintained peace and stability across this region of space for millions of years, the ambassador explained. We have helped hundreds of species develop safely, ensuring they do not make the mistakes that could endanger themselves or others. Sam listened politely while making mental notes. The way Kethalar described their empire sounded more like control than guidance, but he kept his expression neutral. That's very impressive, Ambassador. We would be interested to learn more about your methods. Perhaps we could start by showing you some of our own achievements, Elena suggested. We have prepared a tour of this facility and some of our research projects. The first stop was the medical wing, where Dr. Alex Turner waited with a demonstration of human healing technology. The quantum healing chambers lined one wall, their surfaces glowing with soft blue light as they maintained perfect cellular environments for accelerated healing. These chambers can repair most forms of cellular damage, Alex explained as he activated one of the units. We use quantum field manipulation to encourage the body's natural healing processes while preventing aging at the cellular level. Elena watched the Zephyrians' faces carefully as Alex continued his explanation. Ambassador Kethalar's crystalline features remained composed, but she noticed his breathing had become more rapid. The other two aliens exchanged glances that seemed filled with concern. Quantum manipulation for medical purposes, one of the other Zephyrians said quietly. How do you prevent quantum cascade failures in living tissue? Dr. Alex smiled proudly. That was the breakthrough that made it all possible. We developed quantum stabilization fields that actually strengthen the natural quantum coherence in biological systems. The process not only heals damage but extends human lifespan to several centuries. Maya watched her monitors as the aliens' stress responses spiked dramatically. Whatever they were seeing was clearly disturbing them, though she couldn't understand why healing technology would cause such a reaction. The tour continued to the engineering section, where Carlos Mendez demonstrated the quantum processors that powered the facility. The small devices could perform calculations that would require room-sized computers using conventional technology. The key breakthrough came when we learned to harness quantum entanglement for information processing, Carlos explained casually. By maintaining coherent quantum states across multiple processors, we can solve problems that were previously impossible. Ambassador Kethlar stepped closer to examine the quantum processor. His four hands moved over the device with the skill of someone familiar with advanced technology, but Elena noticed they were trembling slightly. This level of quantum manipulation, the ambassador said slowly, requires precise control of subatomic forces. How long did it take your species to develop these capabilities? Oh, about 50 years from the first theoretical work to practical application, Carlos replied. Once we understood the basic principles, the engineering was straightforward. Elena saw the ambassador's skin color shift to a deeper blue, which their preliminary research suggested indicated shock or fear in Zephyrian physiology. She was beginning to suspect that humanity's technological development was not what the aliens had expected to find. The final demonstration came when they visited the communication center. Lieutenant Jessica Davis showed them the quantum entanglement communication system that allowed instant communication across interstellar distances. We can maintain real-time contact with our colonies on Mars and the outer moons, Jessica explained. The quantum entanglement pairs remain linked regardless of distance, allowing information transfer faster than light. For the first time since the meeting began, Ambassador Kethlar lost his diplomatic composure. He stared at the communication array with obvious alarm, his forearms gesturing rapidly as he spoke in rapid Zephyrian to his companions. The translation came moments later. This should not be possible for any organic species to achieve safely. Elena and Sam exchanged glances. The aliens weren't just impressed by human technology, they were frightened by it. Something about humanity's achievements was challenging their fundamental understanding of what developing civilizations should be capable of accomplishing. As the formal tour ended and the Zephyrian delegation prepared to return to their shuttle, Elena couldn't shake the feeling that this first contact was revealing more about the aliens' limitations than humanity's capabilities. The beings who claimed to guide younger civilizations seemed shocked by every demonstration of human ingenuity. Ambassador Kethlar paused at the facility entrance and turned back to Sam. Captain Hunter, we will need to report these developments to our empire. Your species has achieved remarkable progress in a very short time. The way he said it didn't sound like a compliment. General Kate Sullivan sat in the Pentagon's command center, watching the live feeds from multiple locations as the cultural exchange program continued. 3 days had passed since the initial contact, and what was supposed to be a celebration of peaceful first contact was becoming something entirely different. The Zephyrian delegation's behavior grew more strained with each passing hour. Kate reviewed the reports on her holographic display as updates came in from facilities around the world. The aliens had requested tours of human achievements, claiming they wanted to understand Earth's development. But their reactions suggested they were looking for something specific, something that worried them greatly. Her aide, Colonel Frank Peters, approached with the latest intelligence summary. General, the psychological profiles on the Zephyrian delegation are concerning. Dr. Chen's team reports that their stress indicators have been climbing steadily since they arrived. Kate nodded as she pulled up the biometric data. The aliens' vital signs showed patterns consistent with beings under extreme psychological pressure. What triggered the latest spike? The Mars terraforming demonstration, ma'am. Commander Adams showed them the atmospheric processors yesterday, and their fear responses went off the charts. The Mars project had been humanity's greatest achievement in planetary engineering. In less than a century, human scientists had transformed the dead red planet into a world with breathable atmosphere and flowing water. The massive atmospheric processors worked by manipulating the planet's core magnetic field while introducing carefully designed organisms that converted the existing gases into a breathable mixture. Kate switched her display to show the live feed from the Mars orbital platform, where Commander Rick Adams was explaining the terraforming process to the increasingly uncomfortable alien visitors. The Zephyrian science specialist, a being called Healer Quindus, asked detailed questions about every aspect of the operation. The gravitational field generators maintain the atmospheric pressure while the biological converters transform the existing gases, Rick explained proudly. We can reshape an entire planet's environment in about 50 Earth years. Kate watched as Ambassador Kethlar's skin color shifted to the deep blue that their research had identified as extreme distress. The alien's forearms moved in what appeared to be unconscious defensive gestures as he stared at the massive machines that were casually rearranging the fundamental properties of an entire world. Dr. Sophie Williams, the project's chief engineer, continued the demonstration by showing how the gravitational manipulators worked. The devices could alter the local gravitational field, allowing them to control atmospheric density and pressure across vast areas of the planet's surface. The key breakthrough came when we learned to manipulate the gravitational constant at the quantum level, Sophie explained. By creating localized variations in space-time curvature, we can control gravitational effects with precision. Healer Quindus spoke rapidly in Zephyrian before the translation came through. Gravitational manipulation requires understanding of space-time mechanics, that should take millions of years to develop safely. Kate frowned as she made notes in her report. The aliens kept using phrases like should take millions of years and should not be possible. Their reactions suggested they had very specific ideas about how technological development was supposed to progress, and humanity was violating all their expectations. In the Secure Communications Center beneath the Pentagon, Agent Tony Barnes and his intelligence team worked around the clock to monitor Zephyrian communications. The aliens thought their encrypted transmissions were secure, but human quantum computers had broken their communication codes within hours of the first intercept. Tony handed the latest translations to Dr. Grace Kelly, the team's chief linguist. Her face grew pale as she read through the intercepted messages. "Tony, you need to see this immediately," Grace said, her voice tight with concern. "These aren't just status reports. The Zephyrians are filing what appears to be threat assessments." Tony read over her shoulder as Grace highlighted key passages in the translated text. The communications described human technology in terms that suggested military analysis rather than diplomatic exchange. Words like containment, intervention, and necessary measures appeared repeatedly. "Get this to General Sullivan right away," Tony ordered. "And keep monitoring. If they're planning something, we need to know about it." Meanwhile, Dr. Kevin Foster worked with his analysis team to decode the deeper implications of the intercepted communications. As the team's expert in xenosociology, Kevin had been tasked with understanding the aliens' true intentions behind their diplomatic mission. What he discovered in the communication patterns made his blood run cold. "The Zephyrians aren't explorers," Kevin explained to his team as he projected the decoded communications onto the main screen. "They're controllers. Every reference to their guidance of younger civilizations includes mentions of containment protocols and development restrictions." His assistant, Dr. Lisa Chang, highlighted specific phrases in the alien communications. "Look at this section, Kevin. They're discussing acceptable technological thresholds and species that exceeded parameters. It sounds like they have specific limits on how advanced they allow civilizations to become." Kevin studied the data with growing horror. The pattern was clear once he understood what to look for. The Zephyrian Empire hadn't been peacefully exploring the galaxy for millions of years. They had been actively preventing other species from developing beyond certain technological levels. "They're not shepherds," Kevin realized. "They're wardens." The most damning evidence came in a communication from Ambassador Kethler to the Zephyrian High Command. The translation made the aliens' true position devastatingly clear. "The human species has achieved technological transcendence that violates all established protocols. They have developed quantum manipulation, gravitational control, and space-time technology without proper oversight. Immediate intervention may be required to prevent cascade contamination of other species." Dr. Grace Kelly worked feverishly to decode the meaning of cascade contamination. The alien communications suggested that advanced human technology could somehow inspire other species throughout the galaxy to rebel against Zephyrian control. In her secure office, General Kate Sullivan read the intelligence reports with a mixture of anger and fear. The friendly alien visitors who claimed to be impressed by human achievement were actually evaluating humanity as a threat to their galactic empire. The final piece of the puzzle came when the communications revealed the true purpose of the Zephyrian survey mission. They hadn't returned to Earth out of curiosity about human development. They had come to verify that the primitive species they had catalogued 500,000 years ago remained safely contained within acceptable developmental parameters. Instead, they had found a civilization that had not only exceeded every restriction they placed on galactic development but had done so in complete isolation from their control systems. Kate called an emergency meeting of the Earth Defense Council. As world leaders gathered in the secure conference room, she presented the evidence that changed everything humanity thought they knew about first contact. "The Zephyrian Empire has spent millions of years preventing exactly what we represent," Kate explained to the assembled leaders. "We're not meeting fellow explorers. We're facing a civilization that considers our very existence a threat to the cosmic order they've maintained for geological ages." President Michelle Davis asked the question that everyone was thinking. "What does this mean for Earth?" Kate's answer was grim. "It means we're not just making first contact. We're potentially at war with an empire that controls thousands of worlds and has the power to eliminate any species that threatens their control. The room fell silent as the leaders absorbed the implications. Humanity had reached for the stars hoping to find friends among the cosmos. Instead, they had discovered that their greatest achievements made them enemies of the very aliens they had hoped to befriend. Outside the conference room windows, the lights of Washington, D.C. stretched toward the horizon, representing a civilization that had unknowingly become the greatest threat an ancient galactic empire had ever encountered. The terrible truth was clear. Humanity's crime wasn't being aggressive or warlike, it was being too advanced for the Zephyrians to control. Admiral Beth Cooper stood on the bridge of the Earth Defense flagship Defiance, watching the long-range sensors as they tracked incoming signals from deep space. The massive warship floated in Earth's shadow, its quantum armor gleaming with internal light as the crew, prepared for what intelligence reports suggested was an inevitable confrontation. The intercepted Zephyrian communications had revealed the truth that changed everything. A massive alien fleet was already traveling toward Earth, summoned by Ambassador Kethalar's urgent reports about humanity's dangerous technological development. What had started as a diplomatic mission was rapidly becoming an existential crisis for both civilizations. Beth reviewed the tactical reports on her holographic display as updates came in from monitoring stations throughout the solar system. The approaching Zephyrian fleet consisted of over 300 warships, each one larger than anything humanity had ever built. According to the intelligence analysis, the fleet represented the largest military force the Zephyrian Empire had assembled in over 50,000 years. Her tactical officer, Commander James Mitchell, approached with the latest strategic assessment. Admiral, the alien fleet will reach the outer system in approximately 72 hours. Based on their current formation and speed, they're not coming for negotiations. Beth nodded grimly as she studied the enemy fleet composition. The Zephyrians had brought enough firepower to destroy entire planets, suggesting they viewed humanity as more than just a minor problem to be solved quietly. Meanwhile, aboard the Eternal Dominion, Commander Vexhai faced the most difficult decision of his military career. The reports from the diplomatic mission had shattered everything. He thought he understood about galactic civilization and the Zephyrian Empire's role in maintaining cosmic stability. Vex's High paced the length of his private quarters, his forearms clasped behind his back as he reviewed the data that had condemned an entire species. The humans had achieved technological transcendence that should have been impossible without Zephyrian guidance and control. More disturbing still, they had done it in complete isolation, proving that such development could occur naturally without the Empire's careful management. His communications officer, Shelthara, entered with the latest orders from the Zephyrian High Command. Her crystalline features showed the strain of the past few days as she handed him the encrypted message cylinder. "Commander, the High Council has issued final directives regarding the human situation," she said quietly. Vexhai activated the message and read the orders with growing dread. The Zephyrian Empire had made their decision about humanity's fate. The humans were to be offered a choice: accept Zephyrian oversight and restrictions on their technological development, or face complete elimination as a threat to galactic stability. The orders were clear and final. If humanity refused to accept limitations on their advancement, the Zephyrian fleet was authorized to use whatever force necessary to prevent their technology from spreading to other species throughout the galaxy. On Earth, Dr. Rachel Ward continued working with the Zephyrian diplomatic delegation despite the mounting tension. As the lead researcher studying alien psychology, she had been tasked with understanding how the Zephyrians viewed humanity's place in the galaxy. What she discovered was a civilization paralyzed by their own success. "Ambassador Kethalar, help me understand your empire's relationship with other species," Rachel said during one of their private sessions. "You describe yourselves as guides and teachers, but your reactions to our technology suggest something more complex." The ambassador's skin color shifted to the pale blue that indicated deep thought mixed with distress. His forearms moved in patterns that Rachel had learned indicated internal conflict. "Dr. Ward, you must understand that the Zephyrian Empire has maintained peace and stability across thousands of worlds for millions of years," Kethalar replied carefully. "We have seen what happens when species develop too quickly without proper guidance. The results are always catastrophic. Rachel pressed further. But what constitutes too quickly in your assessment? From our perspective, human development has been gradual and careful. Your species has achieved in mere centuries what should require millions of years of careful development, the ambassador said, his voice carrying undertones of fear. Quantum manipulation, gravitational control, space-time technology. These capabilities should only emerge after a species has proven they can handle such power responsibly. And who determines that responsibility? Rachel asked. The ambassador's silence was answer enough. Professor Dan Mitchell, working with Rachel's research team, had been analyzing the psychological profiles of the Zephyrian delegation. What he found revealed a civilization that had become trapped by their own control systems. They're not evil, Dan explained to his colleagues. They genuinely believe they're protecting the galaxy from chaos and destruction. But their methods have created a system where no species can advance beyond predetermined limits. His analysis of Zephyrian behavior patterns showed a people who had forgotten how to adapt to unexpected situations. For millions of years, they had controlled every aspect of galactic development, ensuring that no surprises could threaten their carefully maintained order. Humanity represented their greatest nightmare, a species that had developed beyond their ability to predict or control. Dr. Amy Rogers, working in the Advanced Physics Laboratory, made a discovery that would change the entire equation of the coming conflict. While demonstrating human transportation technology to the remaining Zephyrian observers, she revealed humanity's greatest achievement yet. We've recently perfected faster-than-light travel that doesn't require the hyperspace lanes your empire uses, Amy explained to the stunned aliens. Our quantum displacement drives can travel anywhere in the galaxy without using established routes. The Zephyrian science specialist, Healer Quindas, stared at the demonstration in horror. The hyperspace lane network was the foundation of Zephyrian control over galactic civilization. Every species in their empire had to use the established routes, allowing the Zephyrians to monitor and control all interstellar travel. If humans could travel freely throughout the galaxy without using the controlled hyperspace network, they could contact other species directly, sharing their technology and potentially inspiring widespread rebellion against Zephyrian oversight. Quindas immediately transmitted an emergency report to Commander Vexhai. Human transportation technology threatens the fundamental structure of Imperial control. If their capabilities spread to other species, the Empire's ability to manage galactic development will collapse completely. Vexhai read the report with a sense of inevitability. The humans had not only exceeded every technological threshold the Empire used to determine threat levels, they had developed capabilities that could destroy the Zephyrian system of control entirely. He opened a secure communication channel to Ambassador Kethlar on the planet's surface. Ambassador, the High Council has made their decision, Vexhai said heavily. You are to present the humans with final terms immediately. They must accept technological restrictions and Imperial oversight, or face the consequences of their defiance. Kethlar received the message while reviewing human cultural data in his temporary quarters. The weight of his civilization's decision pressed down on him like a physical force. In his long career as a diplomat, he had never faced a situation where his people's survival instincts conflicted so directly with their moral principles. The humans had shown no signs of aggression or conquest. Their technology was advanced beyond Zephyrian understanding, but they used it for healing, exploration, and improving life for their species and others. By every measure except technological development, they were exactly the kind of civilization the Zephyrian Empire claimed to protect and nurture. But their very existence challenged the fundamental assumptions that had guided Zephyrian policy for millions of years as Kethlar prepared to deliver what might be humanity's death sentence. He wondered if his people had spent so long controlling the galaxy that they had forgotten how to share it with equals. The terrible irony was not lost on him. In their efforts to prevent galactic catastrophe, the Zephyrian Empire might be about to cause the very conflict they had spent eons trying to avoid. The next few hours would determine whether two civilizations could find a way to coexist, or whether the galaxy would witness the first war between species that were both capable of reshaping the fundamental nature of reality itself. President Michelle Davis stood before the emergency session of the United Nations as reports flooded in from monitoring stations across the solar system. The Zephyrian fleet had entered the outer system boundaries, and their intentions were now crystal clear. 300 warships moved in perfect formation toward Earth, their weapon systems charging for what could only be described as an invasion force. The vast assembly hall buzzed with urgent conversations as world leaders absorbed the reality of humanity's situation. What had begun as first contact with an advanced alien civilization had become a fight for the survival of their entire species. General Paul Thompson, standing beside the president at the podium, activated the holographic displays that showed the approaching enemy fleet. His weathered face remained calm despite the magnitude of the crisis they faced. "Ladies and gentlemen, the Zephyrian Empire has made their position clear," Paul announced to the assembly. "They consider our technological development a threat to their control of galactic civilization. They've given us a choice: accept their restrictions on our advancement or face elimination." President Davis stepped forward to address the assembly. "The choice before us is simple. We can surrender our freedom to develop and explore, becoming another controlled species in their empire, or we can defend the right of all intelligent life to reach its full potential." The vote was unanimous. Humanity would not accept restrictions on their development, regardless of the consequences. As the UN session concluded, Dr. Laura Phillips and her team put the final phases of their secret plan into motion. For days, they had been carefully managing what information the Zephyrian delegation received about human capabilities. The demonstrations of quantum healing, gravitational manipulation, and faster-than-light travel had been impressive, but they represented only a fraction of what humanity had actually achieved. Laura activated her secure communication system and sent coded messages to research facilities around the world. "Operation Revelation is a go. Show them what we really are." In Earth's orbital defense grid, Captain Zoe Martinez received the activation codes that brought humanity's true defensive capabilities online. The Defiance and her sister ships had been visible to the approaching Zephyrian fleet, representing what appeared to be humanity's primary military force. What the aliens couldn't detect were the thousands of smaller vessels that existed partially outside normal space-time, waiting in dimensional pockets around Earth. As the Zephyrian fleet approached the inner system, they encountered the first surprise of what would be humanity's most important battle. The space around Earth shimmered and twisted as Captain Zoe's hidden fleet began to emerge from their dimensional hiding places. Ships that appeared to be made of crystallized light materialized throughout the solar system, their hulls seeming to bend reality around themselves as they moved. Admiral Scott Williams coordinated Earth's defense from a command center that existed in a state of quantum superposition, allowing him to observe and direct the battle from multiple dimensional perspectives simultaneously. His orders were transmitted instantaneously across vast distances, using quantum entanglement communication systems that operated outside the normal flow of. High Commander Vexhai watched in growing horror as the human defensive fleet revealed itself. His sensors, designed to detect any known form of technology, could barely track the human vessels. They seemed to phase in and out of reality, their weapons systems operating on principles that violated his understanding of physics. "Sir, the human ships are using some form of dimensional manipulation," his tactical officer reported, his voice tight with fear. "They're attacking us from angles that don't exist in normal space." The battle that followed wasn't just a confrontation between two military forces. It was a demonstration that the fundamental nature of warfare had changed. Human weapons didn't simply destroy their targets. They seemed to convince enemy ships that they had never existed in the first place. Zephyrian vessels found their own weapons turning against them as human. Technology rewrote the laws of cause and effect in localized areas of space, but the most terrifying aspect of the human defense wasn't their weapons or their impossible maneuvers. It was their restraint. As Zephyrian ships were disabled rather than destroyed, their crews found themselves rescued by the same humans they had come to eliminate. Vexhai received reports from his captured crew members that defied comprehension. The humans were treating Zephyrian prisoners with care and respect, providing medical attention and comfortable quarters while their technology analyzed and healed injuries that Zephyrian medicine considered untreatable. The war ended not with the destruction of the Zephyrian fleet, but with a revelation that changed both civilizations forever. as the last Zephyrian warship was gently disabled by weapons that somehow convinced its engines to stop working without causing any damage. Ambassador Kethler found himself in the unprecedented position of being a prisoner of the species his empire had come to eliminate. Dr. Emma Stone, humanity's chief philosopher, met with the ambassador in a conference room aboard the disabled Eternal Dominion. The walls around them had been repaired by human technology that worked so quickly and efficiently that it seemed like magic to Zephyrian eyes. Ambassador Kethlar, your empire has spent millions of years preventing other species from reaching their full potential, Emma said gently. You believed you were protecting the galaxy from chaos and destruction, but what you actually created was stagnation. The ambassador's crystalline skin showed the deep blue of profound confusion and fear. Dr. Stone, you don't understand what unrestricted development can lead to. We have seen species destroy themselves and others when they advance too quickly. Have you? Emma asked. Or have you seen species fail because they were never allowed to learn from their own mistakes and grow beyond their limitations? Emma activated a holographic display that showed star charts spanning the entire galaxy. Your empire controls thousands of worlds, but look at what you've created. Every species remains at exactly the level you determined was safe. No one grows, no one transcends their original limitations. No one becomes anything more than what they started as. The display shifted to show Earth's development over the past millennium. Humans developed in isolation from your control systems. We made mistakes, we had wars, we faced extinction multiple times. But we learned from each failure and became stronger. We transcended our limitations not despite our struggles, but because of them. Kethler studied the display with growing understanding. Humanity's development hadn't been the chaotic disaster his people feared. It had been guided by something his empire had forgotten. The natural drive of intelligent life to grow beyond its current state. Your technology doesn't just surpass ours in capability, the ambassador realized. It surpasses our understanding of what's possible. That's exactly right, Emma replied. We've become something your empire never imagined could exist. A species that creates rather than just consumes, that grows rather than just maintains, that inspires rather than just controls. In the days that followed the brief but decisive conflict, reports began coming in from across the galaxy that confirmed humanity's greatest impact. Species that had remained stagnant under Zephyrian oversight for millions of years were suddenly reporting breakthrough discoveries and technological leaps that defied their previous limitations. Dr. Kevin Foster, analyzing the galactic communication intercepts, discovered the phenomenon that the Zephyrians had feared most. Humanity's mere existence was acting as a catalyst for advancement across the entire galaxy. Species were remembering dreams of growth and exploration they had forgotten under Zephyrian control. Commander Vexhai, now working with human researchers to understand what had happened to his empire, made a discovery that changed his entire worldview. Dr. Stone, our empire didn't prevent chaos and destruction. We prevented growth and evolution. We became so afraid of what might go wrong that we eliminated the possibility of anything going right. The story concluded not with conquest or subjugation, but with transformation. The Zephyrian Empire faced a choice: adapt to a galaxy where their control was no longer possible, or retreat into isolation while the rest of the universe grew beyond them. Many Zephyrians chose to learn from humanity, discovering that cooperation and mutual growth produced better results than control and restriction. Others returned to their core worlds, unable to accept a reality where they were no longer the supreme arbiters of galactic development. As Ambassador Kethlar prepared to return to his people with humanity's message to the galaxy, he understood the true terror his empire had discovered. It wasn't that humans were dangerous or aggressive. It was that humanity proved something the Zephyrian Empire had spent millions of years trying to deny. Intelligent life was meant to grow, to transcend, to become more than it started as. The age of enforced limitations was over, and across the galaxy, countless species began to remember what it meant to reach for the stars.